What other tight ends are you going to go out there in target, or how do we handle this if Njoku is your tight end number one?
Well, and this one really probably matters more to the Harold Fannin managers, because we got super excited last week when Harold Fannin was going to be able to play tight end without David Njoku and sharing with him. And then they had this weird game where they threw 18 passes and the wind was blowing 30 miles an hour. He still had a 27% target share. So if Njoku's out, we view Fannin as a must-start tight end this week. Now, if you need a tight end and you don't have Harold Fannin and you're just desperately looking on the waiver wire, I think you see if Dalton Schultz is out there, you see if Mason Taylor is out there, maybe someone like a Juwan Johnson could be out there. And then the other thing is, if Njoku plays, we're probably going to like Fannin more. Both those guys are going to be ranked somewhere in the 13 to 15 range, probably behind Mason Taylor if he plays.
All right, Heath, we know what this is. We know Friday injury fantasy report. I always got to slide in a personal question, right? And I don't know if this is a question or me just looking for affirmation on a decision that's pretty much already been made. Trevor Lawrence, that was my quarterback, because, I'm a homer. I picked up Jaxson Dart on waivers, obviously, because I saw the game last week and whatever. Is that the right decision? Are you high on Jaxson Dart this week, picking him up off of waivers?
Well, I'm glad you at least explained to everybody how you had a bad team with Christian McCaffrey. It's because Trevor Lawrence was your quarterback. That makes more sense.
Different teams. Different teams.
Oh, different teams.
Yeah.
That's even more fantastic. Jaxson Dart is my QB 13 this week. Trevor Lawrence is, obviously on a bye. So I would rather have Jaxson Dart this week. I would rather have Jaxson Dart rest of season. When Jaxson Dart's on a bye and Trevor Lawrence is playing, I might still rather have Jaxson Dart. I think you definitely made the right choice to pick up Jaxson Dart. I just want to say, I think it was last year and the year before and the year before that we really had a lot of Friday talks. This year, I think this is only the second time we talked. So I have enough bad teams of my own. I don't want everybody thinking that you're sitting there at 2-5 because you've been asking me questions on Friday.
I think that's it. I think they're trying to kick me off of this segment, and my 2-5 record is a direct result. We keep making the comparisons to 2019, back to Tom Brady's last season there in New England. And Ryan, they just keep it rolling here in your eyes.
Here's the thing. They're going to beat the Browns. That's not the bold prediction. But if they beat the Browns and the Bills lose, as we previously talked about, they're going to be a game and a half up on the Bills in that division, which is also hard to wrap your brain around. But I think the bold prediction is this. Drake Maye will throw for over 300 yards. Not the first time this season, the first time in his career, which is also crazy to think about because he played at such a high level last year, exceeding everyone's expectations. By everyone, I mean me. And then this year, he is one of the best players in the NFL. He is a legit MVP candidate. And, if we're voting today, I might take him over Dak. And both those guys are playing out of their minds. He's one of the best deep ball throwers in the league. He completed over 90% of his passes last week, I think is what the stat line was. Doesn't help he's playing the Titans, but whatever. But I think they're going to take it to the Browns this week. And not only that, we're going to see Drake get over 300 for the first time. But Jacqueline, almost certainly not the last time, and not the last time. I will even go so far as to say this month he'll go back-to-back 300s. I'll get a head start on next week's bold prediction with that one.
Yeah, it feels like this is just the start for Drake Maye and this Patriots squad, right? Ryan, we certainly appreciate it. Bold predictions for Week 8 in the NFL. So let's recap it for you, shall we? The Jets and Tyrod Taylor get their very first win of the season against the Cincinnati Bengals, according to Ryan. He's got Andy Dalton stepping in, and the Panthers upsetting the Bills, the Eagles dominating the Giants as Saquon bounces back. Then as far as the Cowboys-Broncos game, he has CeeDee and Pickens going for 100 yards each in Denver, and then Drake Maye throwing for 300 yards, who are 0-7 for the third time in franchise history. But what's the bold prediction here as they're taking on the Bengals?
Yeah, boy, Jacqueline, this is as bold as it gets. Tyrod Taylor's probably going to be the starter. Aaron Glenn has yet to announce it, but let's be real. We've seen Justin Fields play. Tyrod Taylor and the winless New York Jets are going to beat the Joe Flacco-led Cincinnati Bengals. If that was a sentence I told you 5 years ago, you'd have wondered what in the world happened to both players and both teams, but here we are. Here's some other things to be concerned about if you're a Jets fan base filled with concerns already. No Garrett Wilson, no Sauce Gardner. Who cares? Let's just get as bold as possible. I will say this. Tyrod Taylor can actually run a functional offense, that's a start. Justin Fields has been so incredibly erratic and unable to get the ball out of his hands, and that's part of the reason he will likely be benched. The other thing is, and this is hard to remember, back 2015 and 2017, Tyrod Taylor was 22-20 as the starter for the Bills before some guy named Josh Allen showed up. I think the Bengals had their Super Bowl last week when they took it to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know you're partial to the Bengals from living in Cincinnati, even though you're a Jaguars fan, so I apologize, Jacqueline. But we got to get our guy Rick Spielman off this night. They need to win a game. Tyrod Taylor's going to do it.
You know, if I can, give Rick his flowers and he can get a win in this situation, I'm okay with it, even though I got love for the Bengals. All right, let's get to Carolina because the big news coming down for them. The Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, is expected to start against the Bills. Bryce Young listed as doubtful because of that ankle injury. Bills Mafia, I don't think you're going to like this one.
Hey, and look, this is the Bengals connection. So if you're a Red Rifle fan, as you clearly are, and our buddy John Breach is, we're taking it old school. Because remember, last year, week 3, they benched Bryce in Carolina. Who comes off the bench? Bryce. Andy Dalton throws for over 300 yards and leads the Panthers to their first win of the season. It was over the Raiders at the time. This time, the Bills aren't playing great. I know they're coming off their bye. They have a ton of questions, whether it's the defense being able to stop the run, and the run game has actually been pretty good in Carolina. We know how efficient Andy Dalton can be, and when he gets hot, he can get red hot. And the offense, there are huge wide receiver questions when you're talking about that Bills offense. And when you're able to slow up Josh Allen because the wide receivers aren't making plays, that's a huge issue because Josh Allen, we all thought, was unstoppable. But here we are, the Carolina Panthers. This might be their look at that, seeking first 4-game win streak since 2019. Andy Dalton, if anyone's going to do it, Jacqueline, why not the Red Rifle?
Hey, to your point, Ryan, I was in Cincinnati like 2017, 2016 vibes. That was almost like peak Andy Dalton in the Natty. So we all know what he can do. We've seen glimpses of his greatness, right? All right, let's go to the NFC East because we have divisional foes matching up once again in the Eagles and the Giants. The Giants, as we all remember, were on the winning side of that last one. So give us the bold prediction for this go-around.
It feels weird to say this is a bold prediction. If I'd said this a year ago this time, you'd have said that's the least bold thing I've ever heard. Saquon Barkley in the year 2025 gets over 100 rushing yards in one game for the first time. I mean, I went back and looked last year going in or through week 8. He had done it 5 times. In that week 8 game, Jacqueline, not to bring it up, was the Jacksonville Jaguars game where he jumped over one of the Jacksonville Jaguars defenders backwards, and we're still reliving that in our brain and trying to figure out how it happened. He went for 159 in that game, and prior to that, he had previously gone for 147 and 176. This year's highest rushing total, the Chiefs at 88 yards. So this is the week that he gets it done, and I think the Giants, they're not going to come back to earth because they lost last week because of that fourth quarter, but I think it gets the Eagles back to where they thought they were going to be given the way that they played or the expectations were coming into this season. The run game has been not great at all, and I think Saquon gets it right, the offensive line gets it right this week against the Giants, and he goes for over 100 for the first time.
Yeah, the football gods just refused to let me forget about that moment. It was the dang Madden cover, was it not? They reenacted it. I'm like, okay, guys, enough. I'm sick of seeing him do a backwards hurdle over my team, okay? All right, on CBS, 4:25 Eastern, we have the Cowboys taking on the Broncos. Man, the Cowboys have been kind of pleasant, right? A pleasant surprise, dare I say it. Dak is kind of playing on an MVP level. They head out, face the Broncos. The Broncos are just coming off of that insane fourth quarter against the Giants. So your bold prediction, has to do with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, this 1-2 punch that Dak has out there.
Yeah, this offense for Dallas has been incredibly spicy. The defense has been as bland as you could imagine the defense has been. It's been terrible, to put it another way. But offensively, Dak Prescott, as you mentioned, Jacqueline, played at an MVP level. Both CeeDee Lamb, who's back from injury, and George Pickens go for over 100 yards against a really good defense in Denver. Now, Patrick Surtain versus CeeDee Lamb, and CeeDee goes for 100. That feels like a huge ask. If you told me that George Pickens went for 200 by himself, I could also understand that. But I'm going to say both these wide receivers go for over 100, in part because the Dallas Cowboys have to score 45 points a game to have a chance to win each and every week, and Dak has proved up to the task to do that.
He has been terrible so far this year. Like, Justin Fields hasn't thrown the ball well, takes too many sacks. Tyrod Taylor hasn't thrown the ball, takes too many sacks. The thing that's different about Taylor is the whole offense doesn't revolve around him quite as much. You'd expect more targets for other players, particularly the running backs. So we think Breece Hall is going to play in this game. Assuming he does, you start him as a high-end RB2 and think he may even be better with Taylor there. But I don't know who else Taylor is going to throw to.
Because it's not Garrett Wilson because he is out. We know that as well. So again, with Tyrod Taylor, you mentioned it, he has not been great. So are there any other players on offense that you even want to target, right? If you have Garrett Wilson on your roster, or are you hitting the waivers? Who is somebody else that we should look at if you have Garrett Wilson as one of your receivers on your lineup?
Yeah, if Tez Johnson's still out there, he's a great choice. Darius Slayton